Hi, it's Heather Markel with another episode of Inspiration into Action, part of the Inspired Nomad series. Today's theme is it's about the journey, not the destination. As the year kicks off, I've been thinking a lot about my own journey, and I'm realizing that it really has, as I step into year three, which I can't believe, I realized that my journey really has been in phases. And if I look at the idea of the journey and the destination, I think we spend so much time, especially those of us from the northern hemisphere or places like the United States and Europe, we spend so much time in these cultures where everything is about the destination. If you're in a corporate setting, or even if you have your own business, right? We're constantly thinking about what's the end goal? Where are we going this year? What do we want? What are the steps to get there? And then we have metrics so we can measure whether the steps we're taking are in line with the goal, the destination. But all the while that we're doing that, we're not actually noticing our journey. In fact, today I was on a train and in Manhattan, and I came back on 125th Street, and I was walking down the street, and I noticed that there was construction, and there were the most beautiful murals painted onto this construction site. And I had to just sort of slow down and look at these beautiful pieces of art. And you know what? Not one other person was stopping to look at them. And that's when I realized I'm really loving my journey, and I'm really noticing these things. I'm stopping. I'm seeing the beauty around me, which I was missing. And so reflecting on my own journey, I realized that other cultures have what, like I think of Native Americans, they have like a dream walk. And I know other cultures have other things where at some point in your life you kind of go out and you are supposed to go find yourself or take some time to actually ask yourself some questions about yourself and what you want. And I think that's a lot less common in our cultures. And I ran into a neighbor who is in his 80s, and we were talking about my journey and his journey, and he told me at the age of 86 he has finally figured out what he wants to do when he grows up, and he's doing it. He's actually tutoring kids at public schools, and he loves it. And I love that idea, and it just inspires me further that rather than waiting for retirement to figure out what I want to do and be when I grow up, I'm taking this moment in my life to challenge myself and to step outside of all these boxes and figure out what's next, what's for me. And so I tried the conventional way, which was going to be working in a corporate environment, and like I was supposed to figure out working in one job and what I wanted to do, and then if I didn't like that job, go get another job, and that just wasn't working. And I love entrepreneurship. It's something that's still a part of me, but at the way I was going about that entrepreneurship simply wasn't in alignment with me anymore. So I stepped back, and I realize now that year one was really introspective, was really taking a look at in my insights. Who am I? Why am I this way? What's going on? What are the big issues that are blocking me from being the best version of myself? Year two has been very external, looking at the world around me, discovering amazing new places and sights and sounds and animals and people and amazing cultures that I just unlike anything that I've really ever experienced in my life. And I've been able to experience them very differently than year one. Year one, everything I saw, I felt like had a meaning for me and for an issue I might be working on. And this past year has very much been about noticing the things around me. And I now know that year three is going to be about finding my place in the world. So first it was about my internal introspection, then it was about seeing the world, and now finally I'm looking at my place in the world. And so for this episode, I'd like to just take you through some of my own journey that I've gone through in the past 2 years. It's still hard to believe, but 2 years ago, I started my journey in Costa Rica. I had a really tough time figuring out where to start, but I picked one of the most gorgeous places I could have. And it is the place where I began to shed all of these layers of myself, of the person that I had been conditioned to be. One of those things was pre-planning, because every vacation I had taken up to that moment, I had every hotel, every activity, every moment pre-planned in advance, and I decided to just let go. And 2 weeks in, when I ran out of the pre-planning I did, I had a complete meltdown, almost gave up my entire trip. But that is actually the pivotal moment that really started my journey. And the other thing that Costa Rica represents for me on my journey was facing some fears. Most notable were riding a horse and ziplining, which I still cannot believe I actually did. After going to Costa Rica, I stepped into Nicaragua and Panama, which in many ways I realize now were perhaps preparation for going places that the government websites say that you shouldn't. After Central America, I headed on over to Western Europe. When I first got there, I started wondering why I chose Western Europe, since I've been there so many times and it was so familiar. But what ended up happening is I spent about 6 weeks in Portugal, where I ended up going really deep into myself, and I reconnected with my joy of painting, and I also got very introspective and started learning some of the big issues that I would need to face. And I also started questioning, how long is this journey supposed to take? One of the highlights after doing all of this introspection was going to Scotland, which simply is one of the most beautiful places I've been and has wonderful whiskey. The next stop on my journey was Asia. And up to that point, wow, that was just completely mind-boggling. And I had never been anywhere like that. I honestly don't know how I didn't get hit by a motorcycle to this day, but I'm very glad I didn't. I had so much fun with the animals there. I got to ride and pet a water buffalo, play with elephants, play with monkeys. That was awesome. I visited Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, a little bit of Laos, and wore funky pants. And this was the part of my journey where I took what the biggest issue at the time was. It was a self-respect issue, went really deep and played with it within many scenarios that happened while in Asia. So I expanded on that issue, expanded myself, challenged myself, and came out feeling like I had really made some serious headway. Somehow in the middle of all of this, I decided to pack up my apartment and put everything in storage and keep going. So that allowed me in 2019 to spend 10 months living in South America and Africa. In Colombia, I danced the salsa, and I got over this stigma and stereotype that everyone there has guns and drugs. And in fact, I saw that it is full of amazing people and beautiful scenery. Then I went to Argentina, where I hiked a glacier. I never thought I would do that. In fact, I had never seen a glacier before. I walked with penguins, like next to them. I fell in love. I discovered yerba mate. I also had my only, thankfully, so far bad experience with safety, which was not as bad as it could have been. And I crossed many borders by bus, borders in places where I just had thought it would be crazy and it was fine, and I improved my Spanish. Then I went to Easter Island and Chile, and wow, Easter Island is amazing. I got to see these mystical moai and wonder how on earth their existence is possible, and I definitely think it's aliens. And the coolest part of Easter Island is that cows wander freely throughout the entire place. Now, Peru was really special, and I'm highlighting here because I went to many more places, but I really want to highlight some of the key points of my journey here. So Peru was a place where I reconnected with my joy. I met a lot of amazing friends. I saw crazy sights, ate some of the best food I had in South America, although I will say I did not like guinea pig, but apart from that, it was pretty good. Interestingly, I was a bit sad and lonely coming into Peru, and I left feeling full of life and beautiful friends. And telling you this now, I'm realizing that about 5 years ago, I saw a psychic, and she said that I would be going to Peru because there was healing work for me to do there. And in fact, I remember I almost didn't go because I thought that meant that I would have to do ayahuasca. So when I realized that my journey in Peru was really one of reconnecting with my joy and how healing that was, I was very excited. Next, and finally for my journey so far, I went into Africa, and it was one of the most visceral connections I've had with a land yet in my life. I was entranced with both the people, the animals, the land, just the vast plains, and I still crave seeing more of those animals on safari. And it's interestingly one of the first places that I feel like I could live, even though it's so different than anything I've known. And I'd say mostly that this year has allowed me to see beyond the news headlines and realize that governments and people of a country are two very different things. And I got to confront stereotypes. And most importantly, I got to deeply feel the joy of my heart. And now I'm ready for year 3. Now, for the action piece. I want you to ask yourself as you step into this new year, are you happy? Are you happy with your life? Are you happy with your work? Are you being the person that you want to be remembered as? If you are not, if your answer to any of that was no, then I'd like you to write down on a piece of paper all of the things that are not representative of who you want to be remembered as, and what's in the way of you being that person. What do you really want that you don't have right now? That can be experiences. In fact, I'd like you to focus on the experiences that you aren't having that you want to have, not the stuff. This is about the experiences. And step 2, after you write those things down, I'd love it if you would pick one of them. Pick one thing that you want, or pick one part of yourself the one thing that's blocking you from being this person that you want to be, and figure out what is an action that you could be taking to shift that, to get that thing that you want, or to be that person that you want to be. And commit to taking one action, one step towards either having that thing or being that person. So, and as always, if you want to reach out, you can email me at heather@heathermarkel.com and let me know what you found. What are the answers that you found? How did this video impact you, or this audio if you're listening to it? So thank you so much for listening again to an Inspired into Action episode, part of the Inspired Nomads series. You can find more of these episodes all over YouTube at the Inspired Nomads channel, or Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and Google Play, all on the Inspired Nomads. And you can check out my website to get great travel tips and information and insights at www.heatherbegins.com. Until next time, thank you for watching or listening. Bye-bye.